The shuttle is nicely miniaturized by the beam deal. Hopefully, it is reversible. Perhaps you should have asked about that. There are some things you can't afford to have smaller. It's pretty sticky out there. Maybe you should wear your EVA suit. You don't have to wear your helmet out there. You're the first one on your block to actually possess someone else's alveoli. Wow, that's some interesting-looking stuff you've got collected in the engine intake. Looks like a small collection of blood capillaries. You're treading on the fundus, a broad expanse of tissue covering the outside of the stomach. After all, you're treading. For some reason, doing so gives you the feeling of being a one-man army. After all, an army does travel on its stomach.
Oh, that looks real nice.
You're treading on the fundus.
Okay. Is it too late? Can I still back?
But as soon...
That's right. Wait.
You didn't quite make it all...
Holy mo... Actually, I do have a vague recollection of some junk they made us... Hey. Funny?
We hope you didn't quite make it all the way to the stomach, having ripped a brand new shortcut through the greater mesenteric artery just off the aorta. Now you're parked on top of the stomach, and around you looms the heavily veined diaphragmatic musculature of the abdomen.
Holy moly, that was a mouthful. Actually, I do have a vague recollection of some junk they made us study in school, something having to do with the body. Anatomology or something like that. I think it was required. Hey, now that I think of it, it was pretty funny. At least I think it was. I remember how the class laughed and laughed. Anyway, where was I? Funny, I still remember that the teacher made me feel real special about being in that class. He said something like, oh, what an interesting challenge you are. How am I going to fit 1 liter of knowledge into a half-liter head?
We hope you're taking notes because there's going to be a short quiz at the end of the game. You recognize that festering, infected crevice. As if Stellar didn't already have enough to worry about, she's got an ulcer. And it's not just an ulcer, it's puckered. It's a peptic ulcer. As do most computer game characters who find themselves in sequels of sequels, you stop the action to reflect on your past exploits. You realize you spent a lot of time looking at the contents of your own stomach. But this is the first time you've gotten such a good look at a pool of someone else's potential discharge. The pools are deceptively still and shallow. They look harmless, but they're seething with pepsin and hydrochloric acid, a chemical brew of protein-dissolving, bacteria-destroying glop, strong enough to dissolve almost anything, especially organic life forms like yourself. The inside of Stellar's tummy is slippery, mostly because of the mucus secreted by the stomach lining, and there are a few pockmarks here and there, but when push comes to shove, this is the most beautiful stomach you've ever been in. There's just this one thing. Those little robots are the nanites sent down to aid in taking over Stellar's body. They look like guard nanites. But then, for all you know, they could be ballerina nanites. A cluster of stomach acid shy nanites is lurking near the entrance to the duodenum. They know all the cool places to hang out. Dang, these look tasty. Boy, that micro Prozac she inhaled slowed her systems down to a crawl. These things haven't been touched by stomach acid yet. A feather? When, rather, if you get the chance, you'll have to quiz Stellar about her dietary habits. It's a piece of staple. You've got to wonder what was on the menu for Stellar's last meal. You acquire a candy. Interesting. The acid rises, but just not quite high enough to submerge those nanites. It probably seemed like a good idea to you at one time. As cool. Excellent. Nice shot. You acquire a candy.
I already have one. Good Lord, it's an esophagus. Just like the one I saw dangling from somebody's head in More Dull Combat 2. Except that one was just in a video game. This one is real!
That's an interesting idea. It probably... It's one of those tiny timed-release pills. As I recall, these are designed to not melt down and release their medicines until they've gotten to an area past the stomach. A large hunk of twinkoid cake food product is hanging just below her epiglottis. It appears to have gotten jammed on the way to her stomach for digestion. Doesn't this woman chew? An interesting idea. What are you up to, Roger? This is the upper area of the duodenum. Matter preprocessed from the stomach enters here through the pylorus above. It has a lovely bile-colored decor, and for a very good reason. This is the area in which raw processed ingestibles are mixed with a variety of secretions for further breakdown. A large gallstone hangs above the entrance to the gallbladder. Wow, check out all that bile. Looks like her liver's been doing just fine. That's a pool of bile any liver would be proud of. You sure can't speak highly of its aroma. You cleverly tape the capillaries together. Nice work! You've hooked up your makeshift hose to the pump. Nothing happens. You chuck one of the taped capillaries over the muscular ledge. It drops into the pool. You give the pump a stroke or two, and in the process gather a nice helmet load of bile. I guess congratulations are in order. You've got plenty of that stuff, or did you want to take some home to Mom? The gallstone is wedged in the bile duct, and that's just a fine place for it. This is the main pancreatic duct. It appears that there's some blockage toward the tail of the pancreas. It definitely gets a bit snug. Seems to be a buildup of cholesterol arterial plaque. It looks a lot more detailed than it did in Space Quest 4, that's for sure. Not much going on there, eh? That board. A nice pool of pancreatic secretions made up of insulin and glucagon fill the bottom of the islands of Langerhans. You maneuver your helmet beneath the drip and manage to snag a nice little dollop of the stuff. You now own one of those tiny timed release pills.